Welcome back to Star Trek Online, everybody. I am your host, the Housecoat Gamer. Today we're taking a look. This is going to be a short one. The Ark Royal class. I'm re-recording this mostly because people are going to complain if I go too deep into my confusion and general reasoning for why the Kitty Hawk class should not be named the Kitty Hawk class. Long and short of it is, there are enough American carriers in Star Trek that have been turned into starships. The flagship of the franchise is named after the USS Enterprise, CVN-65, or CVN-6. Oh, CV-6, but you get the idea. And there are a lot of ships in the franchise that are named after American carriers. So I think it's high time that the other nations that operate carriers, with a few exceptions considering the current world climate, get their time to have some fun. In the case here, HMS Ark Royal. Okay. Let's look to the sisters of the Ark Royal. Oh, she was the only ship of her class during World War II. Let's look further afield. The Falklands War. Oh, there are two ships of the class. There are three ships of the Invincible class. One of them was the Ark Royal, the other was Invincible and Illustrious. Naming a ship named after a British carrier and giving it a American one is a little non-fitting, if you ask me. I would have stuck with the British theming, but again, I don't work for Cryptic. And that's going to be the long and short of the whole reasoning for my confusion there. Theme doesn't make much sense. As for her stats, bridge layout. Lieutenant Universal, Lieutenant Commander Tactical, Ensign Engineering, Commander Intel, and Lieutenant Commander Temporal. Very science heavy, but she's also a science carrier. Should have been a dreadnought, but again, that's my experience with SFC-2, where the Space Control Ship Advanced, or SCX, was essentially the most powerful carrier-class vessel in the game, basically a battleship with a carrier wing, where the fighters would cripple you and make you halfway dead before the Ark Royal finally got into range and started ending you. But SFC is essentially the adaptation of a tabletop war game, while this is an MMORPG. Significantly nerfed, if you ask me, but that's me. Someone who's played Starfleet Command. She's the first of her breed, in more ways than one. She's an Intel science carrier, and the science is most definitely applicable here. She's the first carrier to have a secondary deflector. Every other ship that is science-heavy but has a hangar slot is a science dreadnought, like the Lamar or the Paradox. Her console layout reflects this. 3 engineering, 3 tactical, and 5 science. Her hangar bays include the newly developed Type 4 shuttlecraft, which also finally gives us a semi-official name for the Final Frontier type shuttle. You know, the one from the 5th movie. Galileo, 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 Galileo. Oh, come on, you knew someone who was gonna do it. Might as well have been me. Now, some people are going, Type 7's better. You know me, I make themed builds for vid work. And it's still a decent shuttlecraft. Her starship trait also helps with the shuttles. Hi, I'm gonna deploy my shuttles. Now you have mines surrounding you. Where'd the mines come from? Boom. It helps. It helps a lot. At least it will for carrier drivers. And people who are very scientifically orientated. Me, personally, again, I still believe this ship has been nerfed. Her Starship console, however, is one reference to SFC that has also been heavily nerfed. The Wild Weasel in SFC is essentially a decoy. Hi! You fired a massive number of those missiles at me, or a plasma torpedo. Gonna drop my speed to 4, drop a shuttlecraft, and let those things hit the shuttle. Wild Weasels are specifically designed to spoof missiles and plasma torpedoes. Of course, you have to be going slow to deploy them. Which is kind of counterintuitive, as, well, you're going at percentages of the speed of light. Going slow isn't exactly conducive, especially to combat. It also deploys scatter packs, which explode into a number of missiles. This has been nerfed compared to the original SFC, which had at least 8 of the damn things. And went, hello. You're not a heavy cruiser? You're dead. Trust me, I've been hit with 8 missiles and turned into a fireball. And done the same thing to other ships. It's quite rewarding to see smaller ships get scatter-packed into kabooming. But it's been nerfed here for one simple reason. This is an MMORPG, not a tabletop wargame, or an adaptation of a tabletop wargame. So they just... one just taunts, the other just turns into a cluster of missiles that hurts people. In short, alt name is confusing because it doesn't really fit in with potential theme, which is, in this case, things related to HMS Ark Royal. And the ship has been heavily nerfed, as far as I'm concerned. She could have been the great, deadly dreadnought carrier, like she was in Starfleet Command. But I'm not gonna complain about the fact that she's finally here. And that she's ready to join the fight. I will criticize the fact that she's not as deadly as she could have been, but I'm not a space magic captain. I'm a little more straightforward. I'm also cheap. Most of those high-level powers are something I'm never going to be able to afford. I mean, it took me a year to get the bundle. To get the Zen for the bundle, that is. So, yeah. She could have been better, but she could have also been infinitely worse. Now, hopefully, if you're going to complain about the fact that I consider the Ark Royal name, that the Kitty Hawk name is confusing, because it doesn't seem, because a lot of you are going, It's a carrier, so what? Please remember, most of these ships in STO have a fitting Oldskin name, usually related to the ship class. And if there's and if there is no alternate skin, it's usually something related to the original subject. And if you're gonna be angry at me for it, do remember, there's enough American carrier names in Star Trek. Let the French, the British, even Canada. Yes, Canada had carriers at one point. Australia. Oh my god. People keep forgetting about HMAS Melbourne. Even India. India's got some carriers. Now, considering the world climate, I'm gonna say those would be the only ones that would be fitting at the moment. But, yeah. Let the other carrier nations, past and present, have their fun. Housecoat Gaming, signing off.